Hey people, hello. It's Wednesday. Moving right along. My time just flies by. July 15th. Cheers. I'm up early. It's a quarter to 7. I'm up already. Haven't fed the cats yet. I will in a minute after the video. Um, Supposed to meet Otis for breakfast this morning at 8:30. Usually it's 9, but it works better for his schedule to do it a half hour earlier today, which is fine with me. Today, Tim Guthrie is supposed to join us. Looking forward to it and hoping that our little soiree can bring some joy to Tim. He's been pretty vocal about it publicly about being in a dark place for some reason inside. Depression or something isn't right for him, and it's not going away. And he's been saying, "I'm looking for positive." A few days ago, he posted this on Facebook. Who's the most positive person you know? And I looked at most of the comments and I decided to answer it honestly. And I said, all kidding aside, the most positive person I know is me. What was nice that I had a friend, never expect anything, but she replied to my reply and said, truth. Someone that's a good friend and we used to work together, and it's the sort of thing that I think a lot of people wouldn't say about themselves, thinking that it'll be taken the wrong way. And it's like, I just have to just say what I really think. It reminds me of, I'm going to show a record eventually. I'll do a poll. I don't have anything to show current. I want to tell the story. But it reminds me that, I've been watching parts of, because it's on all the time through Roku TV, certain things like old Dick Van Dyke and Leave It to Beaver and Little House on the Prairie. Well, I was a big fan of Leave It to Beaver as a kid, and the innocence, but also the adult written script for Beaver and Wally are hilarious, and also point back to a time of greater innocence, or when, for example, it was de rigueur for people to not tell the truth, to tell little white lies, supposedly to help to save other people's feelings. And then oftentimes it would happen that the truth would come out and the little white lie didn't help at all. That came to mind as I was talking about the comment to Tim Guthrie where I said, I'm the most positive person that I know, you know. And then after that, a couple of people went ahead and got the balls to say, is that about themselves, which I was happy to see. I could go on and on about that, but I want to share that I didn't watch it in one sitting, but I got through a whole movie in the last 2 days, a documentary about Susie Quattro. Now, I've told the story before, but after watching this documentary about her, it's like, I want to tell it again. Susie Quattro, she was in many ways the first female rocker, even though she wasn't the first. She was the first to become a huge international star. Um, in watching the documentary, it really put it into perspective. How genuine she is. She's still alive. She wasn't manufactured by some Svengali. She came up through with her sisters, and the story is, if some of you who watch me, and I want to shout out Ghost and Bell. He is apparently going back and watching all my videos because he'll leave a comment, Hig Dig. That's what he calls it. He's doing a Hig Dig. You know, my last name Higgins, Hig Dig. I kind of like that. Hey, Ghost and Bell. Anyway, I told the story, but I'm going to tell it again. For the first 3 years of high school, I went to a all-boys prep school here in Omaha, where the rich kids and the smart kids with money go, besides Brownell Talbot, and there was another one. But prep was the one, because it was also college preparatory, but also run by Jesuits, a Catholic school. So it had money, connected to Creighton University here. My junior year there, I got on the student council. It was a whirlwind of a year because I was doing things but I was letting my academics go. But anyway, I ended up getting voted onto the student council, and one of my duties on the student council, one of the committees that I joined quite happily, was the dance sock hop committee. The people who choose the bands. Well, I didn't get to choose. The seniors were choosing the bands. I was just a junior, but we would be the grunts. We would run the actual sock hops. We would set up the door, greet the bands, do the for the load ins, the payouts at the end of the night. Tommy, that's how I met Tommy Bolin when his band Tommy Bolin and Energy played at our high school. I mean, this is the privilege of money, you know. Bob Seger played, Todd Rundgren, Chase, other bands that I can't remember, and bands that I didn't see. The band Lightning that turned into The Litter from Minnesota played here. Anyway, the band Cradle. Susie Quattro's history was that she started out, early in a band with her sisters called the Pleasure Seekers. And then when the times started to change, they changed their name to Cradle, which turns out she never liked that name and was basically on the way out mentally when that happened. Well, Cradle played at my high school, Creighton Prep, and I looked it up. It was October of 1972. There, you know how people have lists of gigs and stuff. And the show for October 1972 in Omaha was an unidentified venue because it was an all boys prep school. It was all these rich kids getting, I'll just say it again, privilege, Anyway, I remember this show well because it was the first time I, or really anyone, had seen a all-girl rock band. And not only that, they were good. So I remember the show and just really being knocked out by these girls. They were beautiful. They were gorgeous. So I got to meet Susie Quattro before I knew who she was. I was just a kid, 16 years old. And the infamous thing about the show was that my partner and I on student council, Rick, I won't say his last name, we're still friends. He's in Colorado. I wasn't good with money because we didn't have money. I was poor, so I didn't know about really much about handling money. So this night we screwed up and had a really good turnout for the show, even though no one knew who Cradle was. But that was it was something to do, and literally for the weekend. And so the place was packed. So they made good money. But the deal was, I got, not just me, but my partner, I'll say Rick's first name. If you see this, Rick, chime in because we were both starstruck when it came time to meet the band. I remember being so nervous because that was my job. If I remember correctly, Rick gave that job to me, and he did the other, um, making sure the band gets loaded out and the gym got locked up. So the deal was in meeting them afterwards, after seeing them play. I do remember this because I was, come on, excuse me, I was blown away. And so when I went to pay them, I basically gave them all of the money. I just, you know, and I met, I had to talk to Susie and her older sister. I think Patricia. And this was after the show, so they're hyped. You know what I mean? I know that feeling. They had blown us away. I remember Susie in particular because she was so short and cute. The tall one was the one that I remember actually giving the money to. And I kind of remember the look on her face, but she just was kind of like, as I'm giving the money, it's kind of like, when I reflect back, it was kind of like she didn't say nothing, but sort of realized what was happening, which was, here's these kids just giving them all the money. And then afterwards, our chemistry teacher, Mr. Kosis, um, the overseer, swears that myself and the other kid on the student council, because he's Mexican, I'm black, he said, well, you guys stole that money. He insisted for a while, and we just said, I think I was able to prove it with some help from some other kids on the student council that we just fucked up, and we gave the girls all the money. We didn't steal anything. A few years ago, some label released recordings by the Pleasure Seekers and Cradle, and I bought the album, but I've already traded it in and sold it to Grapefruit because I bought it because of that memory. And it's not that I was going to be really listening to it, But I wanted to share that because I live in Omaha, Nebraska. Unlike people who live in bigger cities like New York, LA, San Francisco, Chicago, where it's common to run into or have availability to celebrities, well-known people, up-and-coming stars. It was so it wasn't commonplace like that for the big cities, although because of Omaha and money, stars, movie stars, rock stars, for decades would be coming through Omaha, not just to play, but to visit. They have family here to hide out and stuff. So it was those sort of encounters have always been very significant to me. I wish that I could remember, or I wish, not wish, but if only I knew at the time some of the other now famous people that I rubbed shoulders with as a kid through my parents, my dad, all the jazz and blues artists that would jam at our house and come and score drugs through my dad. I wish that I could, it would be fascinating because I know that I've been around a lot of famous people, a lot of really excellent musicians that I don't remember. That was a good one. Enjoyed the documentary Susie Q. It's on Tubi. Along those lines, listening to the new Kalela album, which I'll show again, which I wanted this makes my album of the year list. New Avatar. I like R&B. I don't buy it much, but Another artist that I want to mention because I don't have her records, but she is the real deal and an amazing singer is Brandy. Y'all know who I'm talking about, Brandy. She started out in the 90s as a 15-year-old, still going. That lady's got some chops when it comes to singing. She is, in many ways, in a class of her own. Everybody's forever been trying to catch up to her. Part of what led to that was how I was listening to Kalela and hearing how some of her nuances and phrases came from studying Brandy, among others, because that came through in watching the Blue Note documentary that Kalela originally thought she would be a jazz singer, and how that's in her style. So that's really what I wanted to share. Um, I wake up to this morning to a comment where someone, I don't know why people make certain comments. I don't know why this person had to tell me, you know, that me uploading the short video of me on the Bukla is just, well, I know what it was. It's me jacking around. I'm trying to learn the instrument. Why does he have to tell me that? Why was that the comment of never? Don't think I've ever seen a comment from this person. Why tell me that as though I don't know it? Little stuff like that is irritating. It's why, and then watching the Susie Quattro and all the crap that she went through with her family because Mickey Most chose her. He wouldn't sign the band. He just wanted Susie. And the story about her being flown to the East Coast or somewhere and jamming with Jeff Beck, that had just happened before I saw them in the chronology of things. She was about to leave the band. I thought that was pretty cool to have been a part of that part of her history. So I can't think of who, but I am seeing a few other things in new releases through videos and audio uploads to podcasts that there is good music and there are people who are trying to find original voices. Someone asked me about the label. I think I have them. See if it's right here. If it is, I'll pull it. Laughlin, pardon me while I find this. You just see, because I haven't been over here. Craven. Someone was asking me about this Naval International Anthem. I'm not following it. They put some good stuff out there. Seems to have a connection to none such. If I were trying to actively pursue getting on a label, this to me seems like a label that could possibly be open to what I do, but I'm not pursuing it, and I've kind of dropped the idea of putting out a vinyl album this year on my own. I really can't afford it, not really. You know, to get it to do it right. Okay, seriously. When I put out Murphy on vinyl years ago after Dereck 3, I did all that process myself, and there's mistakes. No one catches them because only I know them. But you know, when I see when I so anyway, in order to do the next vinyl release, I'd love it to have a label do it. I'd work with them. International Anthem seems like a label that would be good. I've been thinking. I've also thought of Dark Entries the gay-oriented label that licensed my song. I've thought about approaching them, but I haven't. I got a scam email recently, and I investigated, and it was sure enough a scam. And the way that it was worded was like, "This is a scam. So and so radio is playing your track, and you should get a hold of them because they maybe would, you know." It was like just the way it was worded, like this is a scam. But anyway, this is one album I do have on the international anthem label. Micaiah McCraven, drummer. Also, I see International Anthem is a Chicago-born recording company that produces and promotes progressive media. Well, that's me. If somebody sees this, put them on my trail. Give me a leg up. Haven't played this in a while, but this is good stuff. So here's one for the thumbnail. I like to put a record in the thumbnail. So mostly I'm just sharing this morning, not so much about music, but that was a good story about Susie Quattro. The other thing I want to share, because this is a dear diary in a way, for my family, because I know my sister Stephanie watches me pretty regular. Hey, Stephanie. Sometimes my nephews and great nephews and my other sister do as well. Anyway, as you folks who watch my videos know that last week my neighbor cousin Raymond, his trike, that's what you call it, his trike, stopped working. He was going, the actual story is that he went to take off up the street and it just boom. So anyway, yesterday he got it towed to the place where he bought it to have it, repaired. And the place is way out. We live down here in the ghetto in Omaha, East Omaha, and his dealership is way out on 174th, way the hell, like leaving town. So he rode with the tow truck out to the place, but he needed a ride back. So I give him a ride home. We had the most wonderful conversation. Just an absolute wonderful golden visit with my cousin Raymond. Because I'm 71 and he's 10 years older. He's 81. He's doing better now. He was in the hospital with his wife and stuff. He's doing much better. But as we're riding, we're talking about different things, and then memories, stuff about the past started to come up about the difference in price at the stores and stuff. And then we got to the point where we're talking about how it used to be, how neighborhoods would raise you, and certain idiosyncrasies of certain communities. And I didn't know Ray when I was a child, but we're cousins, so we're family. And the more we talked, it was like he would just go, "Yeah, that's right. You ain't lying," because I'd say things, and then it'd be like the parallels in our experiences, and it really came down to the fact that we come from the same family. We were talking about how when you were a kid, if you got into trouble and one of the neighbors beat your ass, they would tell your mama, you sure tell your mama I'll whip that ass, and then you get your butt whipped again. And then the other old I'm sure not just my family, but it's an old one where you've done something bad, you're going to get your butt beat, but you're going to get beat with a switch. But my family, my grandma was like, "Go and cut me a branch off the bush. I'm gonna beat that ass." And this one was where we just cracked up in the car. He said, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah, that's right. And I said, "And not only this, but you come back with the switch." And they said, "That ain't big enough. Go and get another one." And he just fell out, and we're doing this, rubbing each other. I'm driving. You're just right. That's exactly what we both went through. It was probably fairly common among black families. I don't know about white folks. It was just the most wonderful little bit of time spent with my cousin Raymond. So I guess really what I'm sharing is my I'm keeping it real simple and down to earth, and I'm really enjoying life. I'm, Today is a better day. Yesterday was another shit day for ears. Today it's better. It's not a golden day. It's better because it goes like that. DJ Trish made a suggestion about earwax. You know, my ears aren't that. I take care of myself, okay? But the idea of going to a ear and nose clinic where they do where they use a machine and you get way down, it's not a bad idea. It's not. But I have not heard any medical um, information that connects earwax buildup with tinnitus. So, but I thought that was, potentially useful. I have a home earwax removal kit. I haven't used it in a while, but I keep my ears as clean as best I can because they're important to me. And I'm neurotic about them because of my mom's deafness. My mom went deaf when I was a child. I don't mind telling you people, all this personal stuff, and there's a reason behind it because I think that people are still too phony, and people are still too. I think that it's almost like life is like the Truman Show, and people are following scripts rather than being real. I just want to. I ain't about that. Man, this coffee is good this morning. So that's what I want to share. I will do a poll because I did the Micaiah McCraven, but let me just do a random. Let's go over here. I tended because I see these things, the shelves all the time. I kind of be thinking I know exactly what is here. Let's see what we get. Random. And the reason why my copy of this album is so beat up is because I don't like it. Didn't buy it when it came out. Finally, years and years ago, I went ahead and bought a used copy of Animals by Pink Floyd. I still think this album is overrated. I still do not like this album. I like Pink Floyd. A lot of people really like this album. I think it sucks. Honestly, I think this album sucks. And then the next one next to it is Wish You Were Here, right? Yep. Now here's one where I've shared it before because I got it when it came out. I was still a kid, so I didn't know. I got a promo copy of this from a radio station, plain white cover, no graphics. I don't have it anymore. You know it's worth money now. I like this better than the other album, than Animals. I did like this when it came out. Still have the that there. I think it's cool that Roy Harper sings on Have a Cigar. I like that song. So there you go. That's today's random poll. Pink Floyd. I have most of their albums. I got to see them on the Division Bell tour. Really glad that I got to see it. Syd Barrett died on my birthday. The year he died, that was my birthday. Did it feel strange? It sure did. Okay, it's about time to go and feed the kitties. Take care, everyone.